Sandy, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, very welcome. It's not much, but it's a humble little spot. I've got to start off by asking a very cheeky question. Now, originally you're from Melbourne.
Yes.
It's the coffee capital of Australia.
Yes.
How's the coffee here?
The coffee's pretty good, to be honest. To be honest, I wasn't that much of a coffee drinker, but definitely prefer the ocean views of the coffee than in the city over there.
Absolutely, yeah. That the river there that seems to always be inverted, just brown and weird
not that nice, eh?
Yeah, it's a bit. But I mean, it's a beautiful day outside today.
Yeah.
It's always a beautiful day, it seems, here in Perth. So,
it's good.
yeah, it is interesting because being an East Coaster myself, you know, you kind of get used to it. You kind of get used to the coffee and so on and so forth. And then I was in Melbourne recently, and I sort of went, oh no, this is so much better. But that's me. I agree with you. Coffee with ocean views is much nicer.
Yeah, definitely.
I've also got to ask as well, and we were talking about it briefly before the cameras were rolling, what made you move to WA?
Originally, I came here to surf, just have a little surf trip, get out of Melbourne, and I just honestly loved it so much. The people, the place, it was all just lovely. So 3 months later, went back home, packed my bags, moved.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And you moved by yourself?
Yeah.
Right. Was that daunting at all?
It was. Honestly, I was really excited about it, and then got here, then I was like, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah.
But that went away real quick.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get used to WA and the lifestyle and make friends and all that sort of stuff?
I made a few friends when I moved over here. I actually stayed in a hostel when I first came over here. So it was pretty much the same people when I got back. So kind of had a little crew already. And then a couple of weeks there, and I pretty much felt good to stay here.
That's good.
Yeah.
Which hostel were you in?
Western Beach Lodge up in Scarborough.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I gotcha. That's an interesting area, Old Scarborough. It's a very beachy suburb.
Yeah, I loved it there.
Yeah. Now, you told me as well that you left your family behind as well.
Yeah.
Basically straight out of school.
Yeah.
What did they think?
Look, definitely prefer me being over there than over here, but they're supportive of what I want to do, so it's pretty good.
Excellent. It sounds like you got a really supportive family. You were telling me your dad's a tradie.
Yeah, my dad's a plumber.
Yeah.
He's been a plumber for, I'd say, like 20 odd years now.
Yeah.
He actually just recently started his own business, I think in the last couple of years.
Okay.
So he's doing that now, but yeah, he loves that I'm in the trades.
And your brother, you said you had a brother as well. What's he do?
He works with Dad on and off, and yeah.
Yeah. So it's in the family. Trades are in the family.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Look, you generously shot me your resume before we sort of did this whole thing today. I noticed you got a bit of background in sales as well.
Yeah.
You know, before you made the change across into a trade.
Yeah.
Why the move into the trades? I mean, obviously you've got heritage in the family and so on and so forth, but why not plumbing? Why be a sparky?
To be honest, I've always been a bit hands-on, and I feel like back when I finished school, it wasn't really a thing like it is now that women go into trades, or like it wasn't really pushed to go into TAFE. Instead, it was more like, you know, go do your ATAR, go straight to uni. So when I came here, did sales for a little while. I loved it. I was one of those, you know, the guys at the shops who try to stop you for charity. Yeah. I was one of them. Okay. It was awesome though, because you get to talk to someone every day. It was fun. I basically kind of can work your own hours. It was a pretty good job, but there isn't as much career progression as you'd like. And I feel like just with my future goals and things like that, it just kind of didn't align. So I was like, you know what? Give being a sparky a go. Honestly, with the plumbing, I would love to do it, but not really good with toilets and things, eh?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, definitely.
bit more dirty than a sparky role, unless you're you know, pulling wires or something like crawling through dust, but even that probably doesn't compare to a septic tank.
Definitely doesn't compare, eh?
Just on the sales thing, you mentioned you were one of those people that stop people in shopping centres, and, you know, sales as a role, you've got to be pretty good with people. Yeah. And you learn some pretty good people skills. Yeah, definitely. Did you learn any skills or other skills during your time in sales that are really transferable into what you're doing now?
God, that's a good question, eh? I feel like when you're doing it, you really got to think about the process of what you're doing. So when you're talking to someone, obviously it's like this, just a conversation. You're basically asking someone to help out a charity, so it's like pretty much sells itself. But you just got to think about what they say and how you respond, and that sort of thought process, not directly with talking, but as such doing a jobbing at work. You kind of like problem solving is probably the good way to put it. Learned a bit of that, but other than that, to be honest, it's just the communication. And I feel like that's a big part, not just in electrical, but just life in general.
Yeah, so learning, I suppose, how to communicate effectively rather than just speak at people or
100%,
or what have
definitely,
you.
yeah.
And how does that translate into the world of yourself?
Just in general, or
well, in general or in relation to your job.
I don't know. I've always liked talking. I've always been a bit of a talker. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's a good thing to have a chat to people, and I feel like communication's definitely a big part of my life, and in the trades as well. I work in construction, so there's always other trades you need to communicate with. The own people, when you're working in teams, you've got to be able to communicate with them, just so on and so forth like that.
And I imagine it's a bit easier as well if you have that background in being able to speak with people. You're less intimidated by speaking to the boss about something, or
that's it.
Speaking to the new person about, hey, maybe you shouldn't put the fork in the PowerPoint, or what have you, whatever it is. Yeah. You can tell I'm not a tradesman. So. Have you run up against any notable obstacles since starting in the trade?
To be honest, to kick off, just starting in a trade in probably a male-predominant sort of industry, I feel like there's just a lot of anxiety at the beginning of that. And to be honest, I've been really lucky. My host employer is Frieden, and the transition from doing what I used to do to jumping into a trade and working with pretty much all guys was pretty easy, because all the blokes there have been lovely and eager to help you out and answer your questions, teach you things. Other than that, I'd say physically. So sales obviously isn't much of a physical job. And I think there was a big it took a lot of getting used to, definitely. But over the last year and a bit, it's definitely gotten easier, and I feel like I can notice that I've physically just gotten stronger to do the job better. So kind of didn't start off with too much strength, but I'm getting there.
So what sort of physical tasks? Because you think of a Sparky, right, and you think of someone, putting in a PowerPoint or, that kind of stuff. And those who are a little bit more in the know, sort of, there's a little bit more of a physical aspect to it. But what particular tasks were particularly difficult for you when you first started?
Mainly the heavy lifting. Usually the multi-storey buildings, stairs, carrying things around, that just definitely heavier than usual, the usual stuff you'd carry around. There are things like something as small as we have things called hit guns. Basically puts things up on concrete so that you can cable tie them all along to it. Those little bits are called hits, and I remember the first few times I used it, and I was doing that all day, definitely took a bit of weight on the shoulder. But like I said, now it's not that bad. Can kind of cruise through it. Yeah.
And do you do anything sort of external to work to keep physical strength up? Is it gymming? Do you still surf? Do you go for a paddleboard every now and then?
I don't do surfing as much anymore as I'd like to, just with work I'm so exhausted. But I did used to go to gym, kind of stopped that for a bit now, but we're making a move down south a bit, so definitely get back on that soon.
Yeah, absolutely. You sort of touched on this a little bit earlier, but being a woman in the trade industry, it's a very male-dominated industry. And not only that, but you're quite a young woman as well. Do you get the sense that the industry is welcoming women into its ranks, or is it still really difficult for a woman to get a role in this industry?
I feel like they're definitely opening it up for women to be able to jump into trades a lot easier now. Like, not even just from my experience, but like you go online and you see if you're on Instagram or so on and so forth, there are like pages dedicated to women in trades, and you realise that it's not just you. There's like hundreds and hundreds of Australian women all around the country that are being accepted into the trades and quite easily as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think the industry's obviously changing in that
Definitely.
regard? Yeah.
How much I hear it now, like women in trades, than when like it wasn't even long ago that I was in school, like 2017, let's say. Like, it's crazy. I barely heard that in Victoria, but over here now, like, I hear it all the time.
Do you think that's a thing in the school system where, we were mentioning earlier about, when you go through school, you don't really hear much about, getting a trade. It's more about going to uni, being an engineer or this or that. And particularly, I imagine that focus is more so when it comes to women as well, because they're, if you can't get a trade as a woman, what are you talking about? What do you want to be a bricklayer for? You know? And there seems to be this idea of like dirty trades around, physically dirty trades. Do you think that's changing as well at like a schooling level? Or
100%. I feel like from what I've seen, I personally didn't go to school here, but based off what I've seen, I feel like there definitely is a bigger push for kids to jump out of school and go straight into trades, and especially women as well. I know just from what I've seen online, there are guest speakers that schools take on specifically from trades and women as well, and they go around to schools and, tell them a bit about what it's like to be a woman in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be reprimanded if that segue didn't work. But obviously we have EGT. I'd be reprimanded pretty badly if I didn't ask about EGT. So how's the experience there? What do you love about it and what do you dislike about the place?
To be honest, they've been really good to me so far. Field officers, I feel like that's a really good thing. I started my apprenticeship with EGT, so I'm not really sure about how it works outside of EGT, but I haven't really heard of field officers coming around elsewhere, but that's really good because it's almost like someone to kind of keep you on track. You have someone to talk to if you have any issues, or just to like kind of go over everything that's been happening. Definitely with doing our e-profiling, definitely helps having someone there to push sometimes when you're slacking a bit.
Right.
But field officers, they're great. Just in general, the people at EGT, even in the office, they're all really easy to deal with. They're all there to help. I feel like overall I don't really have any faults about them, to be honest.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I've got to ask about Frieden, obviously.
Yeah.
These guys are bloody great to work for, from what I understand.
100%.
What was it like the first day on the job there? Was it just, hey, everyone, start, here's a screwdriver? Or was it, actually, no, this is what you do, and really quite welcoming and quite, I suppose, instructive? Yeah,
definitely welcoming and instructive. Always had a tradie there to explain what to do. They're all lovely. Like, I feel like obviously being a woman in trades, it's like different because there aren't as many. But being said, once you're there, it's like everyone's kind of on the same level. It's not like, oh, you're a girl, I don't know what to do. But I asked questions, they helped. I feel like a lot of my improvement this entire year has been literally thanks to those tradies. They've taken time out of the day to explain things to me, help me out, and they all make it really welcoming as well. And not only them, the supervisors, the company in a whole, pretty good.
So take me through a typical day in the life of Sandy working for Frieden.
Yeah, right. We get there to site. We have a pre-start meeting in the mornings, so basically go through the works for the days, anything that anyone needs to talk about. We do JHAs, which is a job hazard analysis. Basically go through all the hazards that you might have during the day and what you can do to minimise those hazards. After that's done, go to site. Whatever your job you're doing for the day, like, for example, today I was wiring. So you've got a tradie with you go through the works and basically just get the job done.
Yeah.
And then, end of day comes around and you go home, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what time do you normally start? What time do you normally finish?
So I start at 6, and depending on the day, you either do an 8-hour day, 9 hours or 10 hours. So if you're doing an 8, it's 6 till 2:30. If you're doing a 10, 6 till 4:30. And
Okay. And do you get to choose those hours, or is it hey, this is a 10-hour job, hey, this is an 8-hour job? Is it more scheduled kind of that way? Or?
Yeah, they don't force it upon you. You can come in, do an 8, you can come in, do a 9, you can come in, do a 10. It's up to you. But obviously, like, when the job's nearing an end, then, it's nice of people, tradies, everyone to just give it that little extra push to get it over the line. But other than that, like, it's pretty much up to you.
So what do you think sets apart a good apprentice? And this is a bit of a loaded question because you are one. But what sets apart a really good apprentice from an average apprentice? Because you always, in your head, particularly people who aren't in the trades, I think they think of the apprentice as the guy you give a broom to and let him sweep the floor, him or her sweep the floor. What separates someone from being a good apprentice that people want to keep coming back every year, or, keep them back every day, from someone that you sort of go, oh, man, that guy again, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like just really want to be there. Like, I don't know, I'm genuinely really passionate about, like, what I do. I'm happy to be there. I'm happy to learn as much as possible. The good thing about being an apprentice and not having done it before is there's a lot of things you need to learn. And basically, like, obviously you learn after you finish your apprenticeship, but you have 4 years to, like, ask everything and anything. And I know that the tradies like it when someone's there who actually wants to be there, because it means the job gets done, it gets done more efficiently. And like I said, tradies, it's easier for them as well to teach you, kind of let you go and do it. Obviously help where it's needed. The job gets done quicker, the job gets done well. And wanting to learn, I know that's a big thing. I know the tradies liked it when you ask questions and you were interested in what you're doing and interested in learning in what you're doing. Just being there, like even the small things, getting there on time, showing up for work as much as you can. Obviously sick days and things like that happen, but showing up as much as possible, being reliable, I guess that would fall under that. Just, even small things like thinking ahead, like buying your own tools, for example. I know it's handy when you don't need to ask a tradie for a certain tool. You've got your own stuff there ready to go. And just come in there being keen and just ready to learn.
So you mentioned a little bit earlier that you were keen to learn. Obviously, the great thing about being apprentices is that there is a lot that you don't know.
Yeah.
And you get to learn a lot. What areas in particular really excite you about the electrical trade?
Just honestly working in construction, it's pretty good because like all of it kind of excites me right now. I'm like pretty new into it, and you kind of get to see a building from start to finish. So you go through the stages of like, setting everything up with conduits, and depends on the job, and then roughing in, wiring in, and then all the other trades come in and everything kind of like comes together, and then you get to fit off, and that's always fun. Learning about switchboards, that's something that I personally was super interested in. It kind of like seemed really, really complicated to me at the beginning, and I was like, oh my God, there's so many cables coming in here. Like, how do you even think about this? And then I got shown how to do it, and that was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome finally being able to understand like what was going on in there and being able to fit it off. And then like at the end of it, like when you see everything kind of finished and all the lights are on and all the PowerPoints are working and you see it all kind of come together, it's pretty cool.
You get to stand back and say, I did that.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's really cool. And there's a lot of other industries, nursing, for example, where you don't get to see sort of the end of it, like particularly specific areas of nursing, for example, anaesthetics nurse, a friend of mine is one, and she constantly tells me, it's kind of annoying because we never get to see the end of it. Like, we just see them when they come in, they go under, and then they're still under when they get wheeled out.
Yeah.
We don't, other than that, we don't know sort of what happened. And she's actually saying it can be a bit tiresome because you never get a finality on anything, but it sounds like you get that in the trade.
You definitely do. It's kind of like what you said. You kind of go, I played a part in that. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about your life in general as well, but sort of relating it back to doing this trade. So, has the role that you've currently got changed what you do in your downtime, or however much of it you have, and what has it afforded you to do that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to do? So if you were still in sales or even climbing up the sales ladder, whatever it was, how has this job changed? I don't want to use the term change your life, but how's this job changed your life?
Yeah, right. Downtime-wise, obviously, like I said, the difference from sales to this, like, it's physically completely different. So obviously I'm a lot more tired than I used to be. So my downtime has changed a lot. I don't know, I used to go out heaps, out with friends a lot more than I do now. Just get up to whatever, really, whenever I wanted to. But now it's definitely just come home, relax, go to sleep. But being said, I was able to buy my first car because of the transition into doing what I'm doing now. And that was a pretty big milestone. It actually took me a little while to get my license since I moved here, because I moved when I was like freshly 18 over there, and I hadn't booked in my test until after I moved here. So I couldn't get it there, and then it just took a little while. But I basically got my license and was able to afford to get a new car straight away, so that was really good. I feel like that was probably one of the biggest things, to be honest. Helps a lot in day-to-day life. I was trekking it on a bus or a train or Uber, which costs a fortune. But yeah.
So you just opened up. I mean, you got to have a car in Perth, right?
Yeah, definitely.
By comparison to Melbourne, but in Sydney, the public transport's a bit ho-hum.
Yeah.
But if you've got a car, it just opens those things up.
That's
and I imagine from a work perspective as well, the boss knows you've got a car and, oh, hey, can you nip down and do something? Or, hey, can you nip over to that site and do something there? And probably opens up a few more opportunities for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like another thing probably would be like, things like buying a house one day and so on and so forth. I definitely don't see myself getting a house if I was still doing sales, like anytime soon. But I can actually plan for one now, So that's something that I've been looking forward to for a while. So, yeah.
So where do you want to buy?
Oh, honestly, I have no idea yet. But somewhere by the beach would be nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of beach here. You've got to make it easy. On that, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, you have a love for surfing.
Yeah.
One, where did that come from? Just out of curiosity. And two, I mean, Melbourne is not exactly synonymous with Bondi. So
no, definitely not.
How did it all eventuate?
I don't know. I finished school and then I kind of got back into it.
Okay.
Well, I think people went, I think you call it leavers. I don't know. I don't know what it's called here.
Schoolies over.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get out of the sea for a little while. And I just got into it like then and there. And then I was like, oh, Perth has good beaches.
Yeah.
Came over here and definitely have better beaches than over there, I can tell you that much. But yeah, honestly, it was just like a random, like, school's ended, kind of want to just chill out, do something fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always interesting when you meet people and you speak to people in trades or anywhere really, and they've got a really interesting hobby. You know, whether it's surfing or we had another guy on the couch a little while ago who was a kite surfer.
Yeah.
You know, all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And it's really, I mean, I'm a massive geek, so you know, it's all D20s and Dungeons and Dragons and such for me. But you know, it's interesting to see what people do in their downtime, aside sleep, obviously.
Yeah.
But you were mentioning earlier you work 6 days a week.
Yeah, most weeks.
Yeah, that's an active choice of your own?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just socking away the money, stacking a flat, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, we get the choice of it, I guess, and that's something I'm very grateful for because on apprentice wages, this definitely helps out. But yeah, we have the choice, so most of the time I take it. Obviously, the odd weekend here and there I don't. The odd day I don't really do overtime, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. I do want to sort of relate this back to surfing a little bit, in that, is there any takeaways from surfing that you think apply to what
my
you're
job?
doing now? Yeah.
Getting up early.
Yeah?
I feel like definitely a lot of the time when I used to go surfing a lot, it's definitely an early bird thing. All depends on, obviously, the surf on the day, but even back in Victoria, I think I was on the road with my mate at like 3, 4 a.m. to go down to the surf. Same goes here, you know, obviously depending on the day, but most of the time it's an early thing for me. You can obviously do it other times of the day, but definitely early person.
Yeah. So, and it probably helps that there's something at the end of the road that you want as well, right?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
Getting up at 3 a.m. to do something not so fun is not that great.
Yeah.
On that, we've sort of touched on it a little bit throughout the chat. You mentioned that now with this job you can plan for some stuff going forward.
Yeah.
Besides buying a house, what are some of the plans? Like, where would you like to be in 5 years' time? Say I had you back here in 5 years' time, what would you be hoping you'd be telling me?
Goals-wise or just in, like, general?
It's up to you, yeah. I mean,
Cool. 5 years' time, hopefully qualified tradie. I'd like to do a bit of work up north.
Okay.
Maybe, like, get into the instrumentation side of electrical work. That would be pretty cool. Same thing, just buy a house. Bit boring, but just want to be living comfortably, you know?
Yeah.
Just be able to afford whatever, whenever, and yeah, not struggle, really.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you what's comfortably look like for you, because the amount of people I know in various different walks of life, you know, comfortably to some is like very ostentatious, and then in others it's, I just want to be able to pay my bills.
Yeah,
so.
that's the sort of comfortable I'm talking about, definitely.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Would you change anything you've done so far?
Probably not. I'm a big believer in, like, everything kind of takes you to a certain place, and feel like everything that I've done in the past, although I definitely would have preferred to get into the trade a lot earlier. I'm 25 this year, so definitely would have rather have gotten into it when I was like 17, so I would have been qualified a couple of years back. That would be awesome, but I feel like there's a lesson in everything. And, you know, over the years, I feel like I've grown a lot as a person, and I'm kind of glad that I started this as a mature age, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I take it seriously as much as I can. And, yeah.
Do you think mature age apprentices and so on and so forth are, I want to use a better term, do you think they're better than people straight out of school?
Not necessarily. I don't know. I feel like that's just entirely dependent on the person, you know? I feel like there'd be heaps of keen young kids straight out of school who want to get into it, and they'd be just as good as a mature age. I feel like it just entirely depends on the person and what they want.
Okay. Final question.
Yes.
And I promise it will be the final
No,
one.
that's okay.
If you had to tell someone who was thinking about doing a trade, or if you had to speak to someone who was thinking about doing a trade, what would you say to them?
Do it. I feel like there's nothing to lose, you know? You jump into a trade, you get paid to do it. You're not paying, like, I don't know, in uni I feel like I went to uni for a bit, so like you're paying to go to uni, whereas here you're learning something, you'll gain a skill or two while you're there if you don't want to do it. You're getting paid to do it. I feel like there's absolutely nothing to lose, and I honestly feel like if you're thinking about it, just go for it. And, you know, you might love it. You might end up doing the whole 4 years of whatever trade it is that you choose, and definitely think it's worthwhile.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
That's all right. My pleasure.
No worries.